Oh, for fuck's sake, woman, you're on a bicycle. Don't drift over. Fuck's sake, you stupid cow.
Is this a good
It's
time to
not
talk about
Maureen, is it?
bison?
She is Dutch. They do have a lot of bicycles there.
This is some stupid bitch who decided that she wanted to go as slow as possible through the construction zone and drift into the middle of the lane.
Disco and I were having a go chatting about cyclists earlier.
Yes, we know.
Yesterday,
it's why you were late to the podcast, Cry.
He was a bit late.
Yes.
And early for leaving as well.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget.
Ah, dear.
Oh, perfect transition into the cycling thing, too.
Yes.
Yeah, wow, funny that.
Yeah. Now, we all know cyclists are scum, but cyclists in Italy to be forced to have insurance number plates and indicators under new law.
What?
Good.
No,
I mean,
not good.
There's a part of me that likes the Schadenfreude I get of this, but it's like, more government, bad.
No.
Well, yeah, okay, the more government bad, the easier to understand directions and things. I mean, I've tried using hand signals when I ride a bike, and nobody knows what they mean.
Yeah, no one knows what an indicator means either.
I'm in a different position than some of you guys, because I think they should be forced to do the same things every other road user has to do. They have to have the insurance and they have to have training.
Yeah, well, are we going to implement that for horse riders too?
Well, the reason horse riders are on the roads, especially in the UK, is because of the bridle paths being closed by farmers. They wouldn't be using them otherwise, mostly.
Yeah, but I am very much against more government regulation to solve a problem that laws already exist for.
The thing is, they also fucked up the laws in the UK with cyclists, making them the priority, so they can do no wrong whilst riding around like fucking idiots.
Yeah. But the madness of this, though...
I think the problem is if you get into insurance, then you have the poor who are the working poor, not the privileged poor. They're going to suffer more than anybody else.
Well, that's my other than the just fuck the government perspective. How many teenagers is this going to fuck over? How many teenagers have the money for a yearly bike inspection and registration?
Well, yeah, I guess I kind of got to figure it out.
Because, you know, I've looked through, multiple, English, basically, your annual inspection bullshit. And it's absolutely useless stuff that you'll never need to worry about if you do proper maintenance on your vehicle. But they still do an anal inspection and make it expensive as fuck. And to do that for a bicycle, that's just excessive.
Yeah, and also...
I think at the very least, if you're riding a bicycle on the road, the one thing you should have are mirrors, because it's necessary to know that you're... No, I think you do. If you don't have mirrors, you are having trouble observing what's around you. And there are so many fucking cyclists who will, like Bleach was just saying, literally will just swerve into your lane.
And you're under the impression that mirrors are going to help with this in any measurable way.
If they have some compulsory basic training, yeah, sure.
Okay, so we're going to include push bike licenses as well.
Well, they do it in other countries all around Europe, so it's quite common here.
Yeah, and Europe's full of fucking nanny states anyway. It's mental as fuck.
It's not like we're not already in a nanny state in the UK, mate. It's like we have so many. We have to do a CBT to even ride an L plate on a bike. If you get an L plate with the car, you have to have a driver of like 10 years experience in the car with you at all times. Like you've already got all these rules and like legislation. Applying it to bicycles is a pretty much a fair response if everyone else is having to do the same fucking thing. Because otherwise you're causing other accidents.
No, applying all this to bicycles is going to make it prohibitively cost expensive for the poor and the children.
Let's get rid of insurance for cars and bikes as well.
I mean...
what happens then? We just end up in a situation where, yes, we're paying less money, but then what happens when we have accidents? What's the alternative is what I'm asking.
So does little Trixie on her fucking tricycle, and does she need insurance and a license plate and mirrors and indicators as well?
Not necessarily. this is the problem. We've forced cyclists onto a road that they cannot keep up to the speeds. They should never be on the road, in my opinion.
Well,
They should never be there.
They've managed it for decades already.
Not very well. It's caused all sorts of fucking problems.
Yeah, and the dickheads in
I used to
cars
ride
with all
around on
the...
my bicycle on the pavement all the time and never had any trouble.
See, some of this would have more validity if there was any evidence that people on the roads in cars could drive properly.
Yeah. It's funny because
Well,
with motorcycle standards in the UK, the standards for the training for motorcycles is so much higher than for cars, simply because you're so much more vulnerable. But you're on a much more vulnerable position if you're a cyclist, because all you've got is a little tiny fucking helmet.
Yeah,
you
there's,
probably haven't got any pads on your
there's
stuff.
this thing called assumption of risk, and I don't care if the cyclist gets run down if they're doing something wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I'm in two minds
All right,
about that, because there's a
I'm
lot of
gonna-
people who get themselves killed and then others killed because of their stupid actions.
So a very dear friend of mine, she was riding her bicycle to work, got struck by a car because of a careless driver.
Oh.
But she has become a strong advocate about making sure that cyclists get the fuck out of the road because they have this supremacy mindset. And
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you.
that affected her. Yeah, I mean, she's still, she's getting ready to have her second worry about complications because of how her body got with that accident.
Yeah.
She
I-
absolutely loathes bicyclists who are out there and basically acting like kings of the road.
I am
Yeah.
of the opinion that if you cannot keep up with the speed limits, if you can't hit the speed limits safely, then you should not be on the road at all. I don't see many bicyclists going at 60.
See, the problem, Crow, is you say that and the government says we'll lower the speed limit.
Yeah, I know. Fucking
Yeah.
That's obviously the wrong fucking way of doing it. And you want less government legislation, sure, that's fine. But you also have to remember that there are reasons that a lot of this legislation was put in place, because people do drive drunk and people do drive like fucking idiots.
And
You know,
yet they
Don't Drink and
continue...
Drive is a very good fucking campaign in all
And
honesty.
yet they continue to drive like fucking idiots. Even with license plates and
but
insurance and
saying that,
TS.
like, saying that you should get rid of the laws around it is kind of pointless then.
No,
You're like, the laws are there to dissuade people.
I'm saying that these laws are going to be rather ineffective on cyclists. Can't hear you, Bleach, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Bleach. I don't necessarily agree that they'd be ineffective.
Where
Oh, he's still roboting.
Well, I think they'd be insufficient. Yeah, he's full robot. I think they'd be insufficiently effective and cost far too much money. Because
What we're talking about isn't having people have intensive laws. What they're probably talking about is, oh, you have to do a basic compulsory training session. You pass that, you're allowed to ride on the road.
right, how much is that
All
session
you have
going
to
to
do is
cost?
register. Not a lot, actually. It actually would be done in primary school, part of our education system. We don't even have a fucking driver's ed in the UK. It's ridiculous. Like, it's not that huge a cost to do something like that. Like, the CBTs, they're all paid for already by the people who are doing the CBT. So all you do is say, oh, yeah, your kid has to do this as part of their education, and all you have to do is contribute a $5. Parents would be happy to do that to make sure the kids are safe.
Right, and what about all the bikes? How much are the yearly inspections and registrations on the bikes going to
You don't
cost?
need yearly inspections. No one's talking about that kind of stuff.
Oh, you
We're
know
talking
they're
about
going-
the bare minimum.
You know they're going to
talking
do
about
that. You know they're going to do that.
That's slippery slope. That's a slippery slope argument. They
Yes,
never
it
do
is.
that.
Of course.
But
Yeah, because
it's
they
not going
don't-
to happen with bicycles. I'm sorry. It's just
Sorry,
not gonna
once
happen.
they
That's
once
sticking
you
it too
start
far.
needing indicators on your fucking bike, do you think they're not going to start checking them?
I absolutely don't think it would go that
As
far, because
soon-
it would be unreasonable to do that.
It's unreasonable to
As
put
soon as you
indicators on a
require
push
insurance,
bike.
the insurance companies can dictate.
Sorry, what did you say, Bleach?
He said as soon as
As soon as you require insurance for a bicycle, it's going to become a thing where they can start dictating that, yes, there needs to be legislation where you have to have an annual inspection.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a very
I've
good
seen
point.
it in
But I
other
don't know
states
that
in the
that's how
US.
they would go about it.
No.
I don't know if they'd have insurance for the bicycle as such, because they cause so little damage if they run into something. They'll have something along the lines of, you need some personal insurance, like for your body, if you get injured. But I don't know how they would go about it. Either that, or they have to pay some sort of limited tax. But tax in the UK on vehicles is based on the emissions, which is completely batshit, not based on how much damage or issues they cause with the roadway. So if you use your bike loads, probably not going to wear down the road as much as many thousands of cars will, sure.
No, but how
So you
much
ta-
is the license plate going to cost? How much is administering the license plates going to cost? And how often do you have to renew your fucking push bike license plate?
It
And
won't
will
cost
you?
anything because they've already got systems in place to do all that stuff.
So it'll
They've just used the current systems.
right, but how much is it going to cost for each
Well, but see,
individual
the system's in
6-year-old
place,
on their
but then
push
they have
bike?
to develop.
These license plates aren't coming out of thin air free. They're going to have to be paid for by someone. So it's either going to be the taxpayer or little Johnny, the 12-year-old on his push bike, is going to need a fucking license plate so he can go visit his mates.
Like I keep saying, they should be on the fucking road at all.
Fine, we can we can change that law. Easy as piss.
Yeah, that's why I'm advocate for that. But I don't see either option of, like, if you're going to be on the road, you should be able to act like a motorcycle, essentially. If you're going to be a bicyclist, and you need to be able to be seen, you need to be able to see around you, because it's too vulnerable a position. Even as a fucking motorcyclist that can keep up with everybody, it's too fucking dangerous.
And yeah, but again, how do 12-year-olds access this system, and how much is it going to cost them and their parents to deal with all
But
this
are
requirements?
12-year-olds the problem? Are 12-year-olds the men in light?
Are they going to be exempted from the laws? And if they are, how do you tell that they're actually 12?
More often than not in the UK, if you're a kid on a bicycle and you're riding on the pavement, no one's going to say a fucking thing.
Yeah,
No one cares.
yeah, but now that the
It's not
government,
going to be, no police officer's going to do anything about it.
yeah, but now
Even though it is a criminal act.
now that the government
Oh.
is profiting from it, though,
Yeah.
Come on.
like, but you get pulled over for driving a car without fucking rego. They're going to be pulling
I'm
bikes
of the
over.
position that I don't want the government to be interfering with everything, Bobcat, but there are some things where the government should be legislating something. Do I think they should be legislating over bicycles? Probably not, but I think they should have a better idea of where bicycles should be. And like I said, my position is that absolutely that they should not be mixing with faster traffic. Faster traffic that's heavier, made of metal, and will kill them.
Yeah, well, that sounds like an insufficient lack of infrastructure problem. Like, in a lot of places, it's illegal to ride on the pavement unless there's a dedicated bike lane. Sorry, it's legal to ride on the
I think that's
pavement
fucking ridiculous.
unless there's a...
I think that's
No. I got it wrong. Let me finish. Let me correct it.
Sorry, carry on.
It's legal to ride on the pavement unless there's a dedicated bike lane. That's how it goes in a lot of places. It should be legal to ride on the bike lane if you're either traveling at walking pace or it's unsafe to ride on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your priority as a cyclist should be, oh, I'm in the way if I'm on the road, I should get off the road or stop or get out the fucking way because it's not a safe place for you to be. You should not be the priority.
Well, that's absolutely it. The law needs to be that if you are traveling that somewhat below the speed limit, you have become the hazard, therefore it is your responsibility to get out of the way. Yes.
And just to explain, Bobcat, I'm mostly playing devil's advocate with Bezic because I don't really have a solid idea of what would happen if they did legislation. It's just a good way for me to explore the ideas in general. My position, like I said, as I said, they shouldn't be there.
Like, if it was just license plates, that wouldn't be that bad. But now, when you start bringing in insurance and you start bringing in indicators specifically, like, okay, so half the bloody world has mandatory equipment checks every fucking time you're near your rego. I'm not sure that'd be extended. Or are we going to have fucking cops pulling over push bikes going, I want to see if your indicators work? And the whole thing just seems like it's going to cost poor people so much money that it's going to remove their only reliable transport option.
What's interesting is we've had this debate before with, for example, there's this article from the Evening Standards that says, is it illegal to cycle on the pavement? The laws and fines and explain. So it goes on to explain it. But this opening thing is talking about a pedestrian who angrily yelled and waved her arms at a bicycle on the sidewalk, leading to the cyclist to tumble into the path of an oncoming car or approaching car. and she got sentenced to 3 years in prison for criminal manslaughter.
Seems
Like,
like
Seems pretty.
the only thing wrong there seems to be that she didn't go to prison for long enough.
Yeah, and like it was really ridiculous because she caused this old woman to basically fall off her bike because she scared the crap out of her, and that's absolutely, she should have the right to be on the pavement, that cyclist, because it was not safe for her to be on the road. You know, this is what pisses me off. Like, cyclists will ride 3 fucking abreast on the road, knowing that nothing can be done about it, knowing that they're blocking traffic, knowing they're slowing people down, knowing that they're pissing people off, and they get a thrill from it.
Yeah,
Those people are giving all of the other people who just want to get from A to B a fucking bad
it's
day.
funny how that's actually illegal in Australia. You cannot ride 3 abreast as cyclists. It's almost as if
they do
we've
it all
got
the fucking time and nothing's done about it.
It's almost as if the British police are feckless cunts.
I wouldn't be that wrong, would it? Let's be honest.
I posted it
because everything you're talking about, Cry, that the cyclists are doing wrong is already illegal. The cops are just useless.
Yeah.
So the solution,
my solution is to
execute
go out
all cyclists.
and make it legal to punch a cyclist. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not opposed.
If you're being a dick in traffic, you get punched.
Yeah, I posted a link there a minute ago about how there's a 1 meter rule if you're under 60 kilometers here, and it goes to 1.5 above 60. And I said in chat how I had a cyclist in the middle of the lane as I was driving in an 80 this morning on the way home. Now, the thing that I think might be a good idea, yeah, definitely enforce the single file, all that, but you have to make sure that the cyclists are told, no matter what, you need to stay within a meter of the side of the road. Well, it doesn't matter if you see no traffic.
Funny thing. There's already.
Well, that's
here's the
problem,
thing, though. There's already laws for that. Under the assorted traffic codes, you are required to keep, as in Australia, so specifically, you're required to keep as far left as practicable.
Yeah,
which as a cyclist,
practicable.
As a cyclist, that puts you like these fuckers on the line, like mirrored.
Yeah. Actually, if you ask me, they're over too far. They should be further off the road.
Well, that's it. There's plenty of fucking curb there. Why are they in the line at all?
They shouldn't be riding on the line anyway.
Blocking the highway too.
Yeah.
The line, a lot of people don't seem to realize, is incredibly fucking slippery. In wet weather, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's one of the things you're taught with the CPT. Now, I think for cyclists, there should be some form of training if you're going to be regularly riding on the road, but it should be aimed at adults, and it should be very, very available. Now, that's just a bare minimum to make sure that we are preventing idiots from being idiots, or at least trying our best. So when they do fuck up, we say, well, there's an education program. Why didn't you know this? You're being prosecuted. At the very least.
Well, ignorance of the law isn't an excuse anyway. So why bother? Ignorance of the law isn't an excuse anyway, so why bother at all? It's not like they've ever given 2 shits about whether the law is buried in the filing cabinet in the basement under the Jaguar behind the door that says do not enter.
Well, that is true.
Yeah. Unless you're a refugee, and then ignorance of the law is legal.
But only if you're having a sexual emergency.
No, raping that girl was wrong?
I just can't believe that in the UK... sorry, let me finish it now. I just can't believe that in the UK, the cyclist is considered the priority in most situations. Oh, you're in a bigger vehicle, therefore you're at fault. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's obviously ridiculous. Like, obviously, the slower moving vehicle should be required to move over and allow the faster vehicle to pass. I mean, that's literally the law for tractors. You're looking at Not a Bobcat.
Not a Bobcat's comment as well.
Yeah. Not a Bobcat says Australia requires you to stay far left.
Not surprising.
No. Yeah. Well, what the fuck's going on in Canada? Because they require you to stay far right, and that certainly hasn't worked out.
No, they don't.
It's because it's only the fucking cyclists doing it.
I think if we removed one phrase even from the legislation, if we simply made it so that pedestrians and cyclists no longer have the right of way, then you're on your own, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I think if you're going to put or say that cyclists belong on the road, that they should have the basic equipment to be on the road. Like, mirrors are an important thing. As a motorcyclist perspective, without my mirrors, I would be killed so many times by now because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
people don't see you. You're very, very easy to miss, and that's on a big fucking bike, let alone a little cyclist. So your awareness is the only thing you have to protect you from other people trying to kill you. And
See,
that's why you
I
need
think
mirrors.
that should be a personal responsibility thing. If you're crazy enough to go out onto a public road on a bicycle, and then you get run down because you didn't get out of the way, yeah, sounds like a cyclist-related problem.
Yeah,
Besides,
but
it's
then the
only a
person who's
cyclist.
driving the car in the UK is now responsible for killing a person
Well, that's
and
fine. We
has now
fixed
got
that.
criminal charges because the other person wasn't responsible. That's how it works in the UK, and it's fucking ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
I just want to point out too, the image that's accompanying this link, that's actually the Trans-Canada Highway here. The speed limit there is 100 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Why the fuck are they anywhere
100
near the road?
kilometers. Yeah, fucking.
Right? Why are you even riding in that condition?
Good fucking question.
Because, well, actually, I recognize this stretch of road. There is a glorious downhill there.
Hmm.
But, I mean, if you're not on a street luge, you don't belong on the road as far as I'm concerned.
I bet some of those cyclists will be doing a lot more than 100, though.
Yeah. So, and see,
Oh,
the
God, yeah. If
thing
you get in
is,
a tuck,
looking at that road, I look at it and go, well, assuming that and this is a wild fucking assumption, assuming that everyone decides to refrain from being a fucking moron, that should be perfectly safe. Because there's 3 lanes there, the cyclists, fuck them, they can have a lane, and then everyone else can have the other 2, and it should all work fine. Unfortunately, people are a complication because they're stupid. And it doesn't really matter if they're pedaling like a retard, on a motorbike, or inside a big tin box with 4 wheels. People are still fucking stupid. And no amount of licensing is going to change that.
I wouldn't be so upset if cyclists were on the road, provided that there was a dedicated cycle lane at all times, that they would never, ever be crossing into the stream of traffic.
Well,
that wouldn't bother me so
That's
much.
something I'd specifically like to be a rule. If there's a dedicated cycle lane, cyclists must use it. That needs to be a rule. Because they're obviously a slow-moving vehicle and they're obstructing the movement of other traffic. So if there's a cycle lane, they should be required to use it. If there isn't one, they should either be allowed to occupy the furthest to the side lane as far over as possible, if they want to do as fast as they can, or if they want to ride at a walking speed, then they can use the footpath.
Oh, God, Maureen, Jesus. That teacher was not looking out for your best interest.
I think Maureen might have annoyed that teacher.
Darwinian teacher.
Oh, you want to get Darwinian? I want to remove school zones.
Yeah, no, I agree. Have you seen about the 20-mile-an-hour sort of speed limits that they put in the UK? They cause more accidents than they resolve.
It's funny, I'm not surprised by that. Because the thing that gets me is I think they're lying about speed causing accidents just in general. I don't believe that doing in 65 in a 60 zone causes that many more crashes. Sure, it may increase the kinetic force that results from that, but it's not the causal factor in the collision. It's doing something else wrong as well, even if that something is traveling too close.
Well, I think that actually gets into there's too many safety devices in vehicles now, in my personal opinion, because it gives people a false sense of security, so they act more distracted. They're more willing to take risks because the car will alert them, they think.
Well,
All you have to really
they know they're...
Funny anecdote to go with that, Bleach. I am finally going through the hassle of getting my car license. And of course, in Australia, there's a separate license for stick shift. I am finding that in the instructor's car, I'm having issues because I know how to drive an old car.
Oh, no.
Because I know...
It's not one of those that will, lane correct?
Oh, yes. It's also one of those that has hill assist.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I really wanted to get myself a fat bike for a long time.
Yeah. Doing hill starts in it's weird because the instructor's like, find the friction point. Yeah, this is a modern car. It's disengaging the clutch on me. There is no friction point for me to feel. Older car, yeah, sure, there's the friction point because the vibration of the car's changed.
Yeah, or even the pitch of the engine if
Yeah.
you're into that sort of thing. Yeah.
But no, modern cars, so many corrections that it's fucking me up because I've done most of my previous experience in a 20-year-old car.
The first car I drove, and I was 12 years old when I started driving, was a late
Stanley
80s
Steamer.
Mazda. No, I would kill to have a Stanley Steamer.
Uh,
It's like, oh, fuck you and your environmental emissions. I'm burning wood.
yeah.
No, fuck that. Burn environmentalists.
They don't burn as well.
What about render them down
It's
into
all that fat.
biodiesel?
You have to dry them out and process them and all sorts of stuff. Render the fat, like you said.
Well, we need to do something with them. We need to do something after you knock them off their
stop
cyclist.
oil, throw them in the steamer.
Excuse me. Oh god.
Yeah, I just remember, because that car had a really touchy clutch, and it was built like that from the factory. They only made like 8,000 to meet FIA Rally Championship regulations.
Oh
And
wow.
they were all built with racing clutches when they sold them on the civilian market.
Oh,
And
nice.
I went to my first driver's ed, and they're like, well, you need to do this, that. And I'm like, I can't drive your automatic car. This confuses me. And yeah, because I ended up figuring out how to manage it, but it's like, oh, you need to be smoother. It's like, you have no clutch. I don't know how to do this. It blew their minds.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What kind of car did you say it was, Bleach? You cut out just for a second. Or I think maybe
It was a 80s Mazda, late 80s. It was a 323 all-wheel drive turbo.
Oh, those were nice cars.
Yeah.
Oh, I would kill to have that car.
But God,
back.
I tell you, I
You
hate
go.
modern cars so much. Like, because
They're trash.
yeah,
They're
well, because
absolute trash.
like I said, I learned how to drive most of my experience has been in an older car. So now that I'm in a modern car with an instructor that's only ever driven modern cars. It's like, but you're telling me to do things that would stall the car that I'm used to driving in.
Yeah.
Like, oh, for fuck's sake!
I remember it was in bad weather conditions, and the car the instructor had was a front-wheel drive.
Uh-huh. And we lost her
I'm
after
like-
front-wheel drive.
Oh, sorry. My Discord's been crapping out on me regularly, so
It
I
doesn't-
think I might just have to.
It doesn't help that you're
call it
driving
here.
through hell.
No, but actually, Discord crashed on me 4 or 5 times in mid-sentence. So
Lovely
Yeah, I've had a couple of crashes too.
in Discord. They're too busy rolling out
It's
their.
been over.
They're too busy rolling out their pronouns field in your fucking profile to
Yeah,
actually
people
make shit
writing
work
it out.
properly. That's the thing, by the way, that Discord's doing.
Yeah.
They've got a new field for pronouns, and I'm going to have to
Oh,
find a
God.
bot that lets me just ban anyone who uses it.
Good choice.
Well, since I'm getting very, very robot-y, I think I'm going to call it for myself, but I will be popping back in chat. So, Rumble chat.
Yeah.
I agree with Maureen. I
Enjoy.
want a tank too.
Yes, I definitely need
I
to
would settle for an A10 Warthog. Skip the traffic altogether.
Also, cheerio, Bleach. I hope you have a safe drive.
Bye-bye, Bleach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate all the modern car things. Like, the stupidest shit is, it's like, oh, you can't use a mobile phone while you're driving. Instead, we're going to give you an LCD screen in the middle of the fucking dashboard that's bigger than most people's TVs when they were a kid.
Yeah, one of the things I really hate is and you guys were talking about the safety features. One of the things I really hate is this lane keeping thing, where the car will automatically twist the wheel to
Oh,
put you
fuck.
back in the lane. If you're dodging something and you have to go over that white line on the outside of the road, and the car decides, oh, you're not supposed to be over there, you might be getting fucked pretty hard.
Well, my favourite is when the car decides that the lane turns, but the road's actually going straight. No, don't. Yeah, the wheel jerking towards the tree. That's really fucking helpful.
Not a Bobcat says he wants a car you can drive with an
Yeah.
Xbox controller. I had to respond guns and all.
Yeah. And Maureen says, "Got to unlearn before you learn." Yeah, which is going to be really fucking helpful because I'm going to pass the test. Then we're going to have to learn how to drive again. Then again, a friend of mine who used to be a driving instructor in the military has said for years, you need to get a professional to teach you how to pass the test. Then come back and I'll teach you how to drive.
Yeah.
So going back to the cyclist thing, yes, cyclists are a bunch of cunts, but I don't think more government is the solution to it. Because, you know, I bet they would, my guess is they would over-bureaucratize it, and they would immediately bring in a whole bunch of ridiculous crap that would make it prohibitively expensive for kids, teenagers, and the poor.
Yeah.
And maybe something that's actually worth considering is electric bikes. If it can go over, I don't know, 20 kilometers an hour or whatever, require a basic motorbike. What, that thing you were talking about earlier that you need to be a learner?
Compulsory basic training.
Yeah, compulsory basic training. Like, do something like that for electric bikes that can do more than 20k or something. Now we're starting to talk.
That would make sense.
Those bikes that can do that require mirrors and fucking indicators on them.
I did rather like the idea of having an electric motorcycle because they're normally belt driven and you don't have any gears, so it's just all throttle, and you can go from 0 to 70 like without worry. Just twist the throttle and done.
Yeah, like that doesn't sound like a bad idea either. But I'm thinking of the fancy, like actual still electric push bikes that do still have your chain and gear, but also have a massive fuck off battery and can propel you at crazy speed. Something like that you could do like a 1 day or 1 or 2 day course and actually be able to get around would be nice.
But to just mention about electric motorcycles, I did have a guy fly past me on a crotch rocket version of the electric motorcycle, and it's really eerie to just hear road noise just on the road.
Yeah, they actually with the what was it? Fuck's sake! What the Harley? That was it. Harley Livewire was the electric attempt of Harley Davidson, but they had to add a sort of a weird jet noise to it to make it sound like something was happening.
They gave it sound effects, yeah,
which I found hilarious. I'm like, it's not even a loud enough sound effect for people to hear you that you're on the road. It's just for the sake of the rider to feel like, oh, I'm riding something.
Marcus says he hates people who sim for electric bikes here just as well as environmentalists pushing electric cars. See, the only reason I want an electric bike is because I want to get fit and lose weight, but I also don't want to drag my fat, slobby, sweaty ass up a hill.
And I have no problem with petrol or diesel cars. It's not like I want to have the hydrogen fuel cell car come along and completely replace all petrol cars that exist. I want it just to be an additional option that's there that I can choose. And then maybe supply and demand, maybe petrol cars will fade into non-existence, maybe they won't.
Well,
Who knows? I want market options.
Yeah, the same thing for like the extra fancy electric bikes. Like, I'm sure, like, putting aside the environmental bullshit reasons, because obviously no one here gives a crap. If I ended up living in a big city in an apartment, an electric bike would be so sexy. Just take it down in the elevator with me and scoot off to wherever the fuck I want to go. Don't have to worry. Jobs are done.
Adam says, he said about insurance companies trying to make electric bikes motor vehicles. Yeah. Ruth said, but if you get a bicycle, you'll get a small dick. I assume is what he's trying to say.
Yeah, probably. No. What was I thinking? I can't remember.
Be too distracted by small dicks.
I was distracted. What is it with people who think about dicks so much? It's like all these people who are like, oh, you like guns, you've got a small dick. Oh, you've got a big car, you've got a small dick. Stop thinking about dicks, you. Same applies to you, Callum. Stop thinking about dicks
like,
before
I have
you
a big
restart
gun
asking
because
questions.
I like a big gun. It go boom, me happy.
That's where you want to look at those people and go, will you please stop thinking about my penis?
Yeah, well,
I know
yes.
it's massive, but come on, stop looking.
Hey, play first.
Yeah, I have an OnlyFans for a reason, okay?
Just like those whores we covered the other week who were getting mad. I'm wearing my Subway shirt so creeps don't look at me. Creeps are only allowed to look at me if they subscribe to my OnlyFans first.
I'm here accidentally putting out free content because I'm not wearing the right clothes.
Ah, fucking whores. Like, that does seem to be the entirety of the argument of that one. You can't look at me for free.
How do I monetize my appearance?
Sadly, I'm not gay enough to monetize my appearance.
Imagine that, though. We get to a point in like the future where people can literally make themselves like they basically just look like a blob. You can't tell who they are, and you actually have to pay a subscription to see other people.
Oh, I'm
Well, it
sure
just
they
sounds like
want to do that.
VTubers with worse graphics.
Yeah. Oh man. Sorry, my brain going off on random tangents. Excuse me.
No, it's fine. That's what they're here for,
Yeah.
the random tangents.
Pretty much.
If you enjoyed this segment from the Sons of Chardonnay podcast, please consider joining us live exclusively on rumble.com/c/Sons of Chardonnay. A special thanks to our subscribe star supporters who you can currently see scrolling past on your screen.